I think we coming into an era where a lot of people are starting to see the importance of connection and
Okay.
community. And I think that's becoming way more apparent to me, especially because we've gone down this pathway of building, community.
Hmm.
I think that a lot of people are waking up to the idea that we're meant to do more and be more, so much more, be like beyond just ourselves.
Okay.
And I think that's why I want to really take this today,
Okay.
because even in our marriage up to this point, I think it's been more and more, it's become more and more obvious to me that we still need community outside of us. Like
Hmm.
we still need other things to contribute to outside of just each other that also give us a sense of connectedness, community, fulfillment, all of those other things. And I think that that's something important that we ought to discuss today.
Okay.
Where are you seeing that these days?
I agree. I think community is a big deal. And I say that because I have a fitness sisterhood. And literally, like, it's over 50 women right now. And every single one of them have said that the reason they wanted to join is because they felt alone on their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was nobody in their immediate circle who was on the same path as them. So it was discouraging,
Yeah.
because they didn't have anybody who could relate to them. So this fitness sisterhood was something that they really needed to keep them going on their journey. Because it can be hard, like when you're trying to go down a certain path and like nobody is going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's trying to be healthier. Nobody's trying to take care of themselves. It's like, but dang, like, is this just weird? And like, you can easily fall back into the unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If that's always something that you're around. So, yeah, like this community is crazy. So I knew this needed to be a thing because of me feeling alone in my own fitness journey.
Okay.
And I felt like I needed a community because I didn't have that. And I felt isolated. And I was like, okay, well, how can I create something that other women can use too so they don't feel alone like I did?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. Community is very important because it keeps you going. It keeps you encouraged. It keeps you inspired.
I think it also adds deeper meaning to whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm,
And it also gives you another level of energy and commitment
yeah,
and even motivation and inspiration to keep going too.
for sure.
Because even though that your community is more so geared toward fitness, I can think about so many other important parts of our lives where community was either a major impact or we had a desire for it and didn't have it.
Right.
And so really being able to see both sides of it, because like when we were earlier in our marriage, actually just early in our like friendship and stuff like that, we had a whole little squad around us.
We
You know what I mean?
did. We did.
We had our whole little friend group or whatever, and we was all always kicking it together, just hanging out. And everybody always made sure everybody was well taken care of. All of this stuff, man, we were just so tight. And that kept us accountable. That kept all of us pushing towards whatever it was. It gave us an environment to be able to vent and just talk and open up, all of this stuff. And we got some of the dopest memories from just being around other people who literally brought joy into our lives. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that was an aspect of our lives that was very important before our marriage, but even getting into our marriage, it became really obvious to me at one point in time that we needed more community around us in our marriage and in our parenting and different things like that. And we didn't have that.
Right.
And we also got to see the downside of not having community around us when we wanted to be able to develop certain areas, around taking care of baby girl, being able to share an environment with other people, who are also in love and actually enjoyed being together and not always feeling like the odd couple out
Yeah.
or odd people out in general.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, we're the happy couple in the group or we're the happy couple in the bunch or whatever, but we make other people uncomfortable because we're actually happy together and not actually ever feeling welcome, so to say, or like we had that bond with a bunch of people who shared those same values and connectedness that we had. And, you know, that drove us into being in our own little bubble quite literally for years, like a lot of years.
Yeah.
To the point to where we just got used to it just being, you know, the three of us, me, you, and baby.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, like I'm so mind blown at this point, you know, realizing that in this era to where you would think we would be more connected than ever, we're more disconnected than ever. And now I'm becoming that much more aware of how important it is to have these meaningful connections and community and relationships around you that fuel all of the other sides of who you are.
Yeah.
Again, beyond just you in whatever one area it is, like have a community around you when it comes to your fitness goals, be it people who inspire you professionally, mentally and emotionally, people who you can be able to confide in, having a village around it in areas where you might want to grow. Like for me, my communities completely related around, you know, devoted husbands and fathers and bringing us into an environment. And all of the guys have told me, you know, how lonely it is, you know, because yeah, you have your partner, but there are some things that happen from the realm of just being a man or a husband and father that if you're not there, you just can't understand it.
Right.
Not the way that we do.
Absolutely.
And so having that environment around us like is important. And most of us don't have that. We only got the proximity. We only got the relationships of the people within proximity of us. And a lot of the times it's not based off of shared values, our commitment to our spouses or the struggles that we're dealing with. It's just you close to me, so you really all I got.
I think like the big thing about like having a community or creating a community, it takes so much time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort to like build those type of relationships. And sometimes we just don't have time. And like that's the downfall of that. Cause it's like, okay, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a coach, I'm an athlete. I only have so much time in the day. So now I'm having to add like, and then I'm focused on y'all and then like my immediate family and like immediate friends. And then it's like, okay, now I want to build more relationships, but that still takes more time. So it's like, how do you figure out how to create and maintain communities like that when you're first starting out, like when you're trying to like meet new people and actually build community? You know what I'm saying? Because I think like, because I think for us now, it's like we have a community of people that have known us for a long time. But it's like when you're creating new relationships, it takes a little more time because you're really trying to get to know these people. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to be able to go about that really is just starting with your values. Like starting with your values and what's most important in this particular area of your life and going in that direction. For example, right now you're in the process of you're about to hit the stage in a few weeks or a couple of weeks, whatever the case, right? So for you, fitness is like top priority outside of, you know, being a wife, mom, and all that other stuff or whatever. So fitness is quite literally peak high level importance to you right now in your life. You know what I mean? So for you in relation to that, developing community, it's like, all right, well, I need to be able to be in an environment or create an environment that's geared towards my highest value in life right now, which is fitness. And then being able to either go to a place to where that value is celebrated, where it's common, where it's shared, or like you did, you created it. And now you get to bring people into that world. Take me, for instance, right? I have a strong desire to talk about marriage and relationships and being a husband and things like that. But I don't have any other place to where I can go and have those conversations, express it, whatever the case may be. So what did I do? I created it. You know what I mean? And now what we're doing is we're cultivating those communities, finding other people who share those same values, who may not have a place to go like we didn't. And so now we're creating that. But in somebody else's case, depending on what's most important, it could be whatever their professional lives. For example, let's say, because it's all I can really think of right now, let's say you sell insurance or you do real estate or whatever the case may be, they have conferences, networking groups or whatever, where you can connect with people who are in the same skill set as you or growing in the same direction with you professionally. Be a part of those communities or whatever the case may be. Or if you're into a particular type of fitness, be it swimming, biking, go where your people are. Like take whatever that high level value, be it spiritual, physical, mental, whatever the case may be, and get around those particular type of people in those environments and see what you can do to be able to, one, come in and just make your way into those communities and just be present, or come into them and be able to add value. And I feel like that's really the only way that I know of to be able to at least start taking steps in that direction. Is like starting with yourself. Like, what do I need right now in this area of my life? Be it more support or community around my marriage or being a parent or a husband or a wife or something like that, and finding those groups and those places to where other people share those same values at the same level that you do. So
I agree with you. I was just trying to make the conversation keep flowing.
of course.
Yeah, that was
but anyway.
But I know, like, before I was talking to a bunch of ladies in my DMs, and I was talking about like having like girlfriends. And the biggest thing is like, okay, you get to the point to where it's like you exchange numbers, you realize you kind of click a little bit, you exchange numbers, it's like, okay, let's kick it sometime. A week goes by. Well, let's get together next week. Another week goes by. And it's like, you just keep putting it off. So it's like you get to the point to where you want to get to know someone, but the getting to know them and the building the relationship takes a lot of effort. And that's what I'm trying to connect the dots like there, because I mean, we could say like professional stuff like that, but even like if all we're talking about is professional stuff, that's boring. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to connect the dots of like, how do you fill in the blanks of getting from like we click to where like we get to the point of establishing a relationship, a genuine relationship. You know what I'm saying?
You know, the interesting thing about that though is, you know how we always talk about the same principles that apply in one area apply in another area. You have to think about it in that same way, in my opinion. The same way you would make a sacrifice or commitment or do something uncomfortable or whatever to get in an environment or pursue something professionally. If friendship is important to you, then you might have to sacrifice something else to be able to create those relationships.
Absolutely.
Because you actually want to go after this thing.
Absolutely.
So it's like, all right, well, you exchange numbers, you do all of this other stuff. Well, guess what? If you want to have those genuine relationships and create those bonds or whatever, and that is a priority for you right now because you've made up that decision in your mind, then you might have to just make that decision on top of that to not bail.
Yeah.
Like actually go through with it if it's important to you.
Absolutely.
Because, and yes, stuff comes up, all of that particular type of stuff. I get that. You know what I mean? But think about it like this. Some got in the way today. Something can potentially get in the way another day or whatever the case may be. And all you're starting to do at this point is just fall deep into that hole of now you're feeling more alone, more depressed, shut in, isolated, all of this stuff. And you want this, you had this desire, but you got to do your part.
Yeah.
Like you have to put in that work and that effort too. And you can't be upset if you don't shoot your shot enough times to where that can actually happen.
Yeah.
And not get so down on people who don't come through the way that you would like them to.
Yeah.
Like you might have to potentially try that with 5, 10, 15, 20 people or whatever the case may be until you find your 2 or 3. But if it's worth it, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I mean, we have to take that same approach in anything else, especially when you at the ripe age of 30 plus odd years old. You know, at this point, stuff takes effort.
It does.
Like everything takes effort because you got family, you probably got kids, other responsibilities, all these particular types of things. So if that's another thing that's important to you, you got to give it that same level of effort, even when it does get seemingly inconvenient.
I agree.
Of course you do, babe, because we be on the same page
Yeah,
and
I
stuff like that.
agree.
But, for all of those that are watching and listening or whatever the
That
case
was
may
good.
be,
That was a good response.
yeah, just think about it. Like, if it's
Yeah.
important, find a way to make time for it.
Yes.
Simple as that.
I love it. It really is that simple.
I think where people oftentimes, really get into their own heads though is they say these things that they want certain things, whatever, but then other things start to come up to where they have either conflicting values or time constraints, whatever the case may be, and then they find ways to back out of it or give themselves an out or whatever the case. And in the moment, it seems fine. But then what it also starts to do is it starts to impact how you see yourself as well. And so now you can unintentionally start to create a persona about yourself or perception about yourself or develop a character trait based on how you treat other people. Because you can end up subconsciously or consciously getting yourself into a position where now you're used to not coming through. So now you get to a point to where you've either bailed out this many particular times, you've treated so many people, so many, particular types of different ways or whatever, to where now it's starting to become okay to you. And now it's going to become even more difficult for you to be able to form genuine relationships because you can't even trust you.
Listen, I know I had got to a point to where I had developed social anxiety. Like I had developed introvertness. Yeah, I had developed it. Like that was not my personality at all. But I was pushing people away. I was focused on what I was focused on. And like I didn't have any connection to anyone at all outside of you and baby. And I literally developed social anxiety to where when I was out in the world, I would sometimes like hyperventilate. I'd be sweating. If I had to meet people, I'm like literally sweating through my clothes. Like didn't want to talk to people. Like it freaked me out. Like all of that stuff. Because I was pushing myself. I was pushing people away. I was disconnecting. So that's true. Like that's an actual fact.
Yeah.
Because I've lived through that.
It can literally change you.
Yeah, and I had to train myself out of that. Like, no, like what I had to really dial it back to see like where did this start and why did this start? And because I've always been like, even before that time frame, I was always a social butterfly. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, where did this even come from? So I had to train myself to be a social butterfly again because I don't know what I had done to myself.
I accidentally developed a new character trait.
Yeah, that wasn't even me. Yeah, so that's so real. That's so real.
And of course, I lived through the exact same thing. You know what I mean? Like I've always been an extreme extrovert. I've always been that. And then getting to a point, especially, like during COVID and stuff like that, to where I have this identity to where I personally believe that I'm an extreme extrovert and that I love meeting and connecting with people. But then when I don't act in alignment with how I see myself and my world starts to shift, now you end up lost. You end up confused, depressed. You can end up with all of these particular types of emotions and thoughts and stuff like that because you're operating out of alignment with how you actually see yourself.
Yeah.
And so that can create a whole mess of confusion.
Right.
And so when I had moments to where I wanted to connect with other people and have friendships and different things like that, and I didn't have it, and I looked up and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Whatever.
Yeah.
Like the moment when I needed it and didn't have it, I felt shut out from the world. Granted, I had you, but it was like I had allowed myself to become something that just wasn't me. And I didn't realize it until I was too deep into it. And it had, like you said, created a new character trait or a new way of being that wasn't in alignment with who I actually am.
Yeah.
And I had to reteach myself how to be how I've actually always seen myself. And that's a hard practice. Like that's a hard thing to break.
I would like to also add something to that. Something that was both painfully obvious to us in this moment of us like developing these character traits that was not us. our baby girl was developing them too.
Yeah.
She was becoming antisocial. She was becoming disconnected from people. Like, she was in her own box. So she was literally mirroring everything that we were doing or being.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, so we had to train ourselves out of that and also train her out of it.
Which took some time.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because she had gotten so comfortable with saying that I don't like people.
Yes.
But because she had also heard a lot of that too. And not only that, she had seen us operate like that.
Yes. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that was the wrong idea because that's never been true. That's never been true. We just found ourselves in a little isolated bubble and we took on an identity that wasn't us.
Yeah.
And then somehow that crap rubbed off in our baby and that took us down a 3-year spiral roller coaster of crap we had to dig ourselves out of with a lot of personal development, therapy, all type of crap because of a false identity we had taken on because of life situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, you know, either they've been down a similar route or have experienced it in a way to where they've allowed themselves to be so isolated and disconnected, and now they may struggle to find their ways out of that. And so, yeah, man, I know what that's like, and I think it's one of those things to where, again, like, it's really hard to pinpoint where things like that come about until you may not even realize it until you're already too deep in it.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, we had to work our way out of that thing.
Yeah, I'm just glad we realized it when we did, and we had the support of each other through it. Like, we didn't allow ourselves, like, once we noticed it was a problem, we went after the problem to solve it. It was like, no, like, this is not us. Like, what is happening? So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
That's real.
Yeah.
I know when I was going through the process of, you know, developing the brotherhood, you know, that I'm building, I started reading, you know, a lot about the importance of connectedness and community and stuff like that from so many different levels, from being a parent, being married, all of these different things. And of course, you know, with this month being Mental Health Awareness Month or whatever the case, I started to kind of form my own thoughts and ideas or whatever around a lot of these problems is. And I think that a lot of the problems that so many of us face today is because we lack genuine connections and friendships. And I don't think we take that serious enough, because think about it like this. You got people that'll sacrifice their friendships and connections for the sake of money, when the only reason that they only want to have to be able, the only reason they even want to have the money and all of this other stuff, I would assume, is to be able to take those resources and share the gains from that with people that they love and that they're close to. But if you're losing that along the way, then you end up with just all of these resources, so to say, but now you're alone. And now the same thing that you sacrifice all of the close relationships and the connectedness you had. And so, like, now you just empty with a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now that same thing that you thought was a blessing can end up being a curse. Because the same thing that you're using to be able to magnify yourself can also be the same tool that you use that can cause your destruction.
Right.
Because you prioritize a monetary resource over the connectedness of other people, not even realizing that the only way we gain something anyway is through our connection. It's through the value that we add to other people and the value that people add to us. It's the connectedness that's more important and valuable than anything. And doing that research, I realized that most husbands that are able to maintain a steady rate of good quality fitness, the majority of that comes from their circle. If they're around other fit husbands or husbands who are more active and stuff like that, they're more likely to maintain good health. Come to find out, right? husbands who have more close connections outside of their marriage are more healthy, both physically and mentally, and deal with significantly less mental anxiety, depression, and all of those things. And on the flip side of that, loneliness has more of a significant impact than smoking more than 15 individual cigarettes a day.
That's crazy.
A day, like not a week, a day. So quite literally being isolated and disconnected kills people. And that's crazy.
Right.
But when you think about it, like think about all of the different things that we go through when we feel isolated, cut off, disconnected from other people. Like you get sick more. You can find yourself being so out of shape. You can find yourself in positions to where, you know, you're self-sabotaging, all of these things because we don't have another outlet to be able to express ourselves with, be it if I'm dealing with something in my marriage and I don't have another solid brother or somebody to be able to talk to who's going to lift me up and lift my marriage up. Because you can't just lift me up. You got to lift my union up. Or if I'm having a position, you know, or a situation where I need help professionally or I'm lost as a man or a father, whatever the case may be, having other people who can help me talk myself through my thoughts. Because sometimes we can be our own worst enemy because we just live in our heads rather than having somebody else who sees us, who's been there before and who could say like, hey, you know what? I know where you're coming from. I've been there before too. Let me show you how I got through it. Get all of that out, bro. Get all of that out, sis.
Right.
Do whatever it is that you need to do. And we're going to get through this thing together.
Yeah.
And people, I don't think understand how important it is to have close friends, close relationships, close connections like that, that can lift you up in areas where you may find yourself being weak.
Absolutely.
So,
I think a lot of people put such significance on like, I got it by myself or I can do it by myself. Like they really like lean into that. Well, I can figure it out on my own. It's like, well, sure. But it'd be great if you had a community, if you had a mastermind, if you had people to bounce ideas off of, if you had someone to lean on, if you had someone to share things with and who can pour into you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think like once if people get out of that mindset of I got it myself, I can do it on my own, I think it'll be better. I think what am I trying to say? I know I have thought that in the past where I'm like, well, I can figure it out. As long as I got my husband, I'm good. It's like, yeah, I got my husband, but I need other support too. Like I need women around me too. Like I need my brothers around me too. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think if people got away from the I'm self-made or I got it on my own, I think it'll be better.
But that's a lot of people don't realize, man, that we were never meant to be independent.
Yeah.
Like we were meant to be interdependent, dependent upon each other. We were never meant to do anything alone. It's
like, and even in that thought process, everything that we have is because of someone else. Literally our actual life. Like the reason we're even alive is because of someone else. Everything that we have, we drive, we live in, we eat, like we depend on people, period. So why do people think that they don't need other people for connection, for emotional support, for even mental support, spiritual support? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just think is crazy that people think, well, materialistically, yeah, we need other people, but for everything else, I got it.
Right.
I don't think so.
For what?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, and it's such a destructive way of thinking, but you know what? I understand it though, because a lot of culture has trained us and conditioned us to be that way. Yeah. You know, they rap and sing about it, you know, being independent and not needing nobody else or whatever and all of this other crap. And it's done so much harm to us, you know what I mean? Like it's done so much harm to the point where now people long for it and are afraid to say that they want it or that they need it or
that they need connection.
Yeah. Yeah, they long for connection. They need connection. And especially like now, man, like the rise in mental health issues and all of this type of stuff, like it's going crazy.
Yeah.
And people can live through their phone screens, you know, and social media and all this other crap. And it gives you a sense of vanity and all of this other crap or whatever the case may be, you know, by the likes and the hearts and all that other crap. But it's not real. It's not real for real for real. You know what I'm saying?
For real,
yeah, because like you could be sitting over there, you know, and people can praise you and all of that crap in the comments or your messages or whatever the case. But that doesn't take away, that doesn't in a real way add value to the real world connections that we need, of having somebody that actually cares about what we got going on, our development, our becoming better, or just being an outlet or whatever the case may be. Because man, we can get so caught in our own heads. And that's why we need each other.
Right.
Like quite literally. And I know it's funny because thinking about it, like even for myself, all of my worst problems only ever came from moments to where I felt alone or disconnected. Yeah. And granted, you know, we've always had each other and stuff like that, but there's things that we deal with independently that we can only be so much of a support to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so having been through so many different moments like that, it makes me realize how important it is to be able to have those other close connections around you. So that way I can be able to get better in ways that also add value to my marriage. Like, for example, at one point in time, man, when I was what I would call at that time, like some of my most fit, it was because I was in the gym regularly with my boys. And we were super competitive.
Right.
Like you would be ready to borderline die in a workout just for the sake of not being the one to tap out.
Right.
Like you would go so crazy hard. It's like, nah, bro, like we doing 8 sets. You know good and well if you was by yourself, it was gonna be 3 to 4. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, nah, who gonna tap out first?
Right.
But we was just in the most ridiculous shape out of just, I don't know, ego, pride, freaking competitiveness or whatever. Yeah. But it was just fun and it was a joy. You know what I mean? And like just thinking about that same thing in other areas, like people thrive, be it in their professional lives, their marriages or whatever, when they got these villages around them that support them in those particular areas. It's like, what's that saying? It takes a village to raise a child. I didn't realize how real that was until we was going through some of the most difficult and challenging moments of being parents. And I was like, oh my God, I wish we had somebody that understood this the way that we do and could freaking help us. Like Jesus, life vest, somebody throw a Tubi, something out here, like help us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. No.
But we had like those moments and we didn't have a village and we didn't realize, because we had that mindset, it was like, nah, but we got this. We're going to do this thing. And ultimately we did.
Yeah.
With some help here and there. But for the most part, we ended up having to do that. And granted, thank God that it worked out. But if I had to do it again, I definitely wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
No, get you a village, lock in, get you some solid other parents, people around you or whatever to help you do that thing. Because that was traumatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like raising a kid with no village and support around you, that was traumatic. Like, nah, bro, I ain't doing that again.
Right.
Nah.
Especially while you trying to fight through your own stuff too.
And you trying to battle through your own stuff. Be a good example. You got to let some of your feelings sit on the side so that way you could show up as a parent and show up, you know, as a spouse, husband, wife, whatever the case. Man, come on, get out of here, bro.
Yep.
No, we need a team. We need partners. Please. You know what I'm saying?
For real. No, that's real though. That's absolutely real. You just got to put your pride aside sometimes. Like, okay, I actually need help. I need support.
And so, like, and it reminds me of, matter of fact, I'm switching on that.
Okay.
So a lot of the guys, who come into my community, I always have them fill out a questionnaire.
Right.
And one of the questions I ask is, why is community or brotherhood important to you? And it's so crazy, the consistency of the answers. Like, everybody pretty much says the exact same thing without saying the exact same thing. It's like, I didn't have either a father or see what it was like, to be a husband or how to lead a family. And or I didn't learn how to actually be the leader that my family needs, or how to be able to handle my emotions, or I need somebody to help me dissect my feelings and emotions and different things like that, because I'm trying to be the best husband or father I can be. And some of the things I'm doing aren't working out the way that my wife or my family needs, or whatever the case may be. And we're battling with all of these things, and all we doing is freaking throwing mud at the wall trying to figure it out. And we wish somebody would be there to just help us and support us through it. And most of us ain't got nobody. And then, especially with an area that's this sensitive, bringing somebody into your emotional state and your mental state, when you're talking about trying to be able to lead your family or show up as an effective parent and stuff like that, and bringing somebody into that, like, people are protective of that.
Yeah.
I'm not finna just let you in, but at the same time, we deeply desire somebody to be there because we understand the difficulty of it when you're doing it alone.
Right.
And so we're literally just sitting out here. It's like, man, I wish it was another husband or wife I could talk to who understood what it's like to be here, who could help me through it and give me some other perspective. Because I love what I do, but I'm struggling. Or I wish I could be doing it a little bit better because my wife is telling me stuff. I think I'm hearing her, but it's not getting better, or I'm trying to be better. And like, where do I go?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you don't have other people who share those same values that you have, or who can at least help you dissect your feelings and your thoughts and stuff like that, all you can do is internalize that stuff. And then, especially like with guys, what we do is we just beat ourselves up. And then after we're done beating ourselves up, we disassociate and we tap out. Because now it's like, well, I just can't please you. Like, what else you want from me? Like, I've been trying. And then when you don't have anybody to confide in, you will throw the towel in eventually. Because you can only get beat up for so long.
Yeah.
And you want an outlet, like you want to get better. And then for men, we have such a high desire for progress and to feel like our presence means something and the work that we're doing means something. And like, if we're being put in this position where we're feeling like we're not making progress, or things aren't getting better, or I'm not being what you need, and I'm not feeling useful, I can only take that for so long before I completely disassociate. And I'm like, well, I'm not useful here. So now my effort is gone. And it's not because I didn't want to put it in. It's just that I was trying, and I didn't know that it wasn't working out to this degree, to the point to where now I'm done trying. And all I ever had was me and my own thoughts. And that's gotten me nowhere.
Right.
And I feel like, man, just having community and those other close connections and people that we can confide in, be vulnerable with, and really open up to, can fix a lot of those problems. And I feel like a lot of the struggles a lot of people are having today is really just because we feel more alone than ever. And we think we're close to people in our lives, but we're actually not.
Right.
Because I done met, matter of fact, not even just met, I done met and talked to a lot of people in the last 30 days who you would think are lit. Got big circles, all these people around them, but they feel deeply alone. And it's like, well, yeah, y'all like me, but I I don't feel connected to y'all.
Mm.
And if something was really happening, I don't think I could call on y'all.
Mm.
And you know how sad that is?
Yeah.
You got all these people around you on a regular basis. But if you really needed something, feeling like nobody would be there the way that you need,
Right.
or not having enough trust in them to where you could depend on them to guide you in the right, like, nah, don't leave. Stay there. Work it out. Like, not like, don't bash my wife. Lift her up and just show me how to be able to handle her better. Like, no, don't pick my side.
Yeah.
Help me talk through my feelings so that way I can be better for her. But I can't trust you to do that.
Right.
And then when I'm emotionally sensitive and vulnerable, you might say some out of pocket crap that might skew my perception of myself and my feelings toward my wife. And I can't have that. So I got to keep you out. But I keep you around because I ain't really got nothing else. Yeah. That's a sad place to be in. But a lot of people walk around like that on a daily, surrounded by people feeling alone and isolated. But that's why we need true community, true connectedness, people that allow us to be able to feel and open up. And I ain't just saying, you know, just get out all bad stuff or whatever, but that just allow us to be the fullest version and expressions of ourselves, that allow us to be able to get out the important things, but also put us in an environment to where I know that I can trust you, confide in you, and where you're going to give me sound advice or criticism or feedback or whatever the case may be that moves me forward.
Right.
And I feel like that's what we're aiming to do in our own ways.
Absolutely.
And that's the mission right now.
That was good, baby. That was really good.
I don't know if y'all know this, man, but community is like, it's the wave right now. And let me tell you why. It's because you can't fake it. You cannot fake caring for somebody. You cannot fake actually showing up, because it's one thing when you connect a dollar figure to it, but it's another thing when somebody actually needs you to be there and actually having to show up and listen to what they got to say and be there to walk with them through it, especially when it's not convenient to you. It takes real effort to actually give a damn. And people can't fake that. And so we're going to go into this era right now, you know, where a lot of people are going to, you know, be trying to build communities and different things like that for whatever their goals are. But I just encourage people, you know, to have say it another way. I encourage y'all to put yourselves in an environment where you can actually be cared for and be open and know that you're going to be taken care of by people who actually care. And then be willing to show up and give the same thing in return. Because we need that.
We do.
And I think that we've undervalued that for far too long.
I agree.
All right, baby. Swinging back over to you.
No, that was good. That was good. That was really good. I think that's a great place to close. That was good, baby.
Well, baby, you said it. So I hope y'all really enjoyed this, man, or got some level of value out of it. And as you know, family, as always, it's a pleasure to serve y'all in this show, man, and really just being able to show up for y'all. And hopefully y'all see that we actually do care about the things that we share in the conversations that we have. Yeah. But until next time, family, my name is John Tron. This is my beautiful queen.
Adoria.
We are one dope couple. And until next time, family, peace and love.